What you talk about the Las Vegas Police Department and their involvement in it, because when you look at it, obviously we were younger at the time, so we, like I said, we didn't understand grown folk conversation. But when you look at the case now, when you look at other cases, it didn't seem like it was that difficult to solve. Yeah, we didn't really get a clear cut person in who did it for years, damn near decades to come. So talk about their involvement, how you feel in whether it be negligence, involvement, whatever. Talk about them in regards to Tupac's death.
Yeah, well, they didn't want to solve that case because they didn't want that perception out there. In the 90s, they were trying to go with that home. You remember, well, I don't know if most of y'all know, but the old heads will know that back then everybody was trying to do like the parks and slide, water parks and stuff like that on the properties of the big hotels. MGM even had a big old like playgrounds or like a carnival atmosphere then. And so they didn't want no trial. And plus they wasn't gang guys. They were really, white. They were mainly used to investigating people stealing and robbing from casinos and stuff like that. They didn't really have too many murders, especially gang activity and stuff like that in the city of Vegas. And especially from the LA guys and, trying to deal with them. And so they were really just trying to get this over with, like get out of Vegas, type atmosphere. They was not trying to solve the case, even though there were cops that were white, because you had that black and white stigma that worked for the PD that was telling them, hey, these are your players. This is who's involved. They didn't even know, this is how bad they were. They didn't even know who Orlando Anderson was that got assaulted, that was on tape, until about 3 to 4 days later. Wow. They didn't even know about the incident at the MGM hotel until about 3 to 4 days later in the case. That's why people always say, well, Pac would have went to jail if that wouldn't have happened anyway, and that's why he had to plan his escape and all that. Bullshit. They didn't even investigate it. They just let everybody go. You have a fight somewhere, and then everybody good, all right, bye. It was that type of situation even at the hotel until the shooting happened. And so Vegas, to make a long story short, Vegas had no clue, and they had no desire to solve Pac's shooting.
Right. Now at one point, I was reading the article with Suge Knight. When they trying to say that you had him set up, am I correct in saying that, or killed?
Well, Suge ain't never said that. That's old white man that did DVDs that probably didn't even know who the fuck Tupac Shakur was.
That's crazy.
And in the 2000s, that wanted to make money off of DVDs and start portraying that and putting that out. And that's all that was, is that.
Well, did it get real for you at that time with all like just the bullshit? Because we don't know how beloved Pac was, and then your name just randomly thrown in there. Like, how were you perceived out there, and how did that make you feel just walking around? Was security extra during that time?
Yeah, Suge went to jail in 1997. I ran the company from 1997 to 2002. I did 3 to 4 albums with Tupac Mama.
Wow.
We worked hand in hand for 5 years. You think all the leverage she had after that, if she felt that way or believed that, or anybody around her would allow me to be so integral or so important into his music and into his legacy after that?
Right.
Yeah, what was the basis behind them saying that, though? Like, just because you weren't around the area at the time, because you were there, what was the basis that they gave for saying you had them set up?
Well, there's a rumor out there that they created that they learned later or whatever, that I said for no one to carry their guns, which was inside the nightclub. It was not the bodyguards. It was not, even if you read Frank Alexander's book that he wrote prior, which was a bodyguard that was with Pac when that incident happened. Even if you read his book that he wrote in 1997, 1998, he says in this book that he left the gun in his car, and Pac at the last minute asked him to drive the Outlaws, and because none of them had license, And so that's why he left his gun in his car. But then once he got with the old ass white man that didn't even know who the fuck Tupac Shakur was in the 2000s, then he want to change his story. Oh yeah, well Reggie did tell us not to carry the gun. No, Reggie told the motherfuckers that was working at Club 662 not to carry guns inside of the nightclub while they were working, not the guys that had a bodyguard assignment. And so that's the basis, and that's where it come from. And then it sounds good that at first it used to be Reggie and Suge, and then when everybody kept saying, "Wait a minute, why would Suge be in the car?" Then they're like, "Oh yeah, that don't make sense." So now it's just Reggie and Suge's ex-wife or strange wife who was still married to him at the time, Sharitha. They wanted to do it because they wanted to take over the company.
Right. In your opinion, though, knowing what you know, being around Death Row, who would you say killed Pac? I don't think I ever heard that from you.
Oh, no. I say it all the time. I've been saying it. You can pull up a Vibe article in 1997 or 1998 where I pretty much told them it was from the result of that assault. Southside Compton Crips did it. I mean, we knew this 3 or 4 days later. People around Death Row. Why? It was 13 shootings between Compton Southside Crips and the Ma Paru area 2 to 3 days later. That wasn't just for play. That was because everybody knew what was up. That's from out here. And that had a brain.
Right. So you got Pac. Pac passes away in 96. You get Suge going to jail in 97. You take over the reins. Start talking about the end of Death Row and talk about Snoop's involvement in the Death Row, because Snoop's still out. He had her case going on. Talk about Snoop's involvement, and then talk about the transition between Snoop going from Death Row into No Limit, because wasn't there some drama involved with that?
Well, people just like to make it seem like P, no disrespect to P, because during that transition, Master P was 100. With everything that he did and how he conducted himself as a businessman. But what it was even y'all almost got him out there on the East Coast. Leor Cohen and I became good friends because he was taking care of me because, riding up to the prison and telling me about this young rapper he got that's going to save hip hop by the name of DMX and all of that. And he was like being 100. And so, but what happened was, the number was like $13 to $14 million that Suge wanted for Snoop at that time. And because he already had Interscope and Priority talking about coming up with that number, because they were going to split, Snoop. They were going to have him, Interscope was going, and the Priority was going to distribute it. But at the last minute, because of all the stuff that was going on, Universal was going through a sale from one company to a water company with Edgar Brockman, whatever his family was at the time, the alcohol company. They didn't want no business with Snoop or Death Row. So they cut ties with us, only on the Pac stuff, and they cut ties, and they was like, no, Jimmy, you can't come up with this money. I don't know if it was because Dre had been gone by that time, and he decided, hey, this is not, what we want to do, or if it was because, I don't know, Interscope pulled out. And so that's when Leor Cohen came up, and he was owned by Polygram at the time. They were like 50-50 with Polygram at the time. And he came back and was like, yeah, all they willing to do is like $7 million. And Suge was like, no, I don't really want him on the East Coast. He with Def Jam, for some reason he didn't like Russell Simmons and Leor, I think. Leor Cohen, which was cool. He just didn't want to do it. And Leor was like, okay, respect, and he bowed out. So he had me to get Brian Turner up there, who was the owner of Priority Records. And him and Brian always had a great relationship. he ended up getting Brian to do a distribution deal, which was like half the money that we was getting, not even half, but like 350,000, 400,000 a month, and a 7% override on Snoop's last 3 albums that we had the rights to, and $4.5 million up front. Is the deal that he told Brian to do it. But Brian was like, well, I don't know if I could come up with that type of money. He said, hey, you got that guy, Master P over there. You got him. Bill him to him. Him and Snoop, they had did a couple of songs together and all of that prior to him being released. He's like, see if he'll, kick in and you can build it back him. And then that's how Snoop rights was eventually signed to Priority, not to No Limit. It was to Priority, and Priority did whatever deal they did with P. But it was Suge Knight that came up with the idea for Snoop rights. I hate to say sold because we don't like to say that being black.
Right.
But his rights was sold to Priority Records. All Suge behind you, him and Brian Turner.
Did Snoop ever try to own Death Row? Was he ever trying to put his hand in ownership of Death Row?
Nah, you remember he just told y'all he never had $1 million. He told you I ain't never seen a check with $1 million, which was a lie because that was the separation agreement. For him to be clear of everything, where we didn't have to do any accounting to him, and for him to sign the paperwork to be signed to Priority and all of that. But mainly was to get all the paperwork and get everything cleared up. The agreement was he got $1 million and his rights was assigned to Priority Records. But so how could he do that if he had $1 million? But no, what it was that Snoop really felt that he should have been running the company. And looking back on it, because we eventually let Daz be over the music department and all of that. I wish we could have brokered some type of deal where I could have just did the business part and all of that, and he did the music part if we were smart enough to do that at that time. But I got to remember Dogfather had just came out, and we thought he was done because Dogfather was whack. Y'all know that.
Okay. Now you talk about what were you talking about? You talk about Snoop. Uncle Snoop is one of the most beloved figures out here ever in hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been watching a lot of your podcasts, man. You've been calling Uncle Snoop a damn snitch.
Yeah.
We got Tekashi on the stand running his mouth. We're going to get into that. But why do you call Snoop a snitch?
Yeah. I might be coming a little hard on Snoop. But I'm speaking the real. I put up the paperwork for any of y'all that don't believe it. You can look on Bomb First. It's pinned it in the video section, the police report, where snitch is not the correct word because snitching is when you're usually telling the truth. I don't know what the word is when somebody's lying on you or trying to get you and caught up or incarcerated. I don't know what that word is, but I'm sure there's a word out there. But what Snoop did is we went to holler at Snoop and some things happened at the when we went to holler at him and all of that. And he took off and ran, him, Daz, and Priest, Superfly, another little young producer that was trying to be up under him that never really made it. They all took off and ran straight to the police. And they got arrested because they had some weed on them. And then one of the homies that was with us, Sock Snoop, hit him in the face and all of that. And they took and ran like little bitches like they are and ran straight to the police. And then the police, pat them down and get the weed and all of that. So while they talking to them, and they probably developing a relationship, and they telling them, "Oh yeah, these guys with guns, and they were trying to shoot us, and I fear for my cousin, my nephew. He's still tied up with them, and they gonna kill him just like Suge killed Tupac."
Damn.
Now those ain't the exact words. I paraphrased it, but y'all can read the report for yourself. Go to Bomb First and check it out. And my point to all of that is 2 years prior to that, Suge had just bet on Snoop because he hadn't really put out nothing but one song, D Cover. when he caught that murder case. And Suge, y'all, anybody that knows about a murder case, those are expensive. Suge had just laid out $4.5 to $5 million defense. It was a gamble. Everybody said, "Oh yeah, he sold 5 million records and he did this." And it's still a gamble because he hadn't done it yet. But he did it. He hit a home run. He hit home runs. He hit 2, and got the money back. But it's still a gamble. But somebody that put that type of money up for you and lay out, put their selves on the line for some other things and look out for you. And then 2 years later, you try to get them the same beat that they just helped you beat for a slap, or just because you mad because some niggas came and y'all had a confrontation, and you gonna try to put that on them? I don't know what you call that person. I don't know. It ain't cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy there. I got to check out that paperwork.
That's your first time hearing that, oh?
Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
I mean, and people say, "Oh, you just created that because you an ex-cop and all of that." No, Nick Broomfield put it in his little documentary in 1998. His article in the LA Times wrote about it and all of that. So, yeah.
So we got to transition obviously into 6ix9ine after hearing that. Now, is this a culture that goes on in music first and foremost? Before we get your thoughts on 6ix9ine, is testifying and talking something that readily happens, and it's just not just starting with 6ix9ine and getting such high publicity. Has this been going on, to your knowledge, for a long time?
Man, being on law enforcement, everybody talk eventually. People, I don't know niggas that tell on their mama, to be honest. So I don't just put it as a rap industry culture. It's niggas talk a lot and say a lot of what they want to do or won't do and all of that. Until you getting those Social Security digit numbers thrown at you and all of that, if it generally don't affect somebody you really, really love or yourself, I think it's in everybody, man. Not everybody, but 90% of people.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. No, speaking of that 6ix9ine, how do you feel about
right? I'm not saying it's right. I'm just it's just a fact. I mean, look at our poll. That's somebody on y'all that's real big. I mean, that's happened. But anyway.
Yeah, Tekashi 6ix9ine is running his mouth right now, telling on everybody, Jim Jones, Cardi B. We can go down the laundry list of people that he's implicated over the last few days. Do you feel like he is justified in doing what he did? Because, the videos came out, he got kidnapped by that particular, that blood set, it looks like. They was messing with his girl, supposedly extorting him. How do you feel about him telling? You think he's justified or not?
Yeah, it's something like that, and you feel you have to do it if you're attacking one person. Okay. You attacking me because I slept with your girl and you're that much in love with her, and I kidnapped you and had you kidnapped and held for ransom. But like you just said, Cardi B ain't did nothing to the man. Jim Jones ain't did nothing to the man. And I think it's about 15 or 20 other dudes that's on that indictment that haven't done anything to him, but have his back or try to, gave him the confidence to speak like he was speaking and saying, check my gangster. Isn't that what he said?
Mm-hmm.
My gangster or whatever. He wasn't talking that to the government. He was talking that to street dudes, right? When he went walking around in Chicago and all of that, he did all of that because those dudes had his back. And now you're going to try to bring him down because some numbers getting thrown at you. That's a problem. Like I said, snitching is snitching, but I might give you a little pass if it was just Shotty that did all of these things to him. And he felt that was his way of getting back with him because Shotty should have known better anyway when you're dealing with somebody that didn't grow up in the sandbox with you.